Hi everyone, Catherine here from Inky Finger Cat, back with another 30-day Christmas card making challenge. Now, Martin gave us the theme of Jingle and Mingle, and so I wanted to include bells. But the only bells I could find in my stash, this can't be true, I must have other bells, but was this vintage Santa stamp set that included a bell. So I just went with that. And went with a vintagey theme because I don't think I've done a vintage theme for the whole of this month. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I have. I will have to go and double check after I've finished recording this voiceover, but yeah, I don't think I have. So I decided to go brown, gold, vintage Santa in cream. That's where I went. So started off by stamping and embossing this bell multiple times to create my own pattern paper. Absolutely glorious. I then added splattered water and then I added the embossing powder to that as a sort of like more organic splatter type thing than using maybe the Gorgeous Grunge, which I could have also used. To be honest, I end up sort of like covering up quite a lot of this paper really that I'd made, but I think it looks quite cute. I think it looks a bit different. So gave it a bit of a dry off after I'd heated it up and then went in with my vintage Santa stamp. So these are diamond press stamps. I don't do vintage that often when it comes to Christmassy stuff, so it's not something I use frequently, but I must admit I do think that these are beautiful stamps. Lovely images and they're quite a nice jolly Santa. But I didn't do a brilliant job of stamping it the first time round, and I'd forgotten to use my embossing buddy, so there was sort of like embossing powder where there shouldn't be. But do you know what? It kind of added to the sort of vintagey feel, so I decided not to bother. I re-stamped it, the joy of a stamp platform and not having cleaned up and moved the stamp, it meant I could stamp it in exactly the same place. And this gave it a very glossy kind of gold finish. I think that the gold embossing powder I'm using at the moment is called Gold Tinsel, so it is very shiny, very sparkly. Now, I went in and decided to colour my Santa with inks, so a little bit of crisp cantaloupe for his face, although most of it was tapped off, so it just gives it a very light peachy hue. And then I went in with cherry cobbler for his coat and his trousers, and obviously his hat, because, you know, Santa. And I just kept going back in and darkening up some areas to really get some depth to the colouring. And because I'm not using huge amounts of water, it goes on quite quickly and easily. I then decided to bring out brown and I used soft suede. Gosh, I didn't realise how many times I'd gone back in with the colours on that. But yeah, I used this soft suede. But to be honest, I didn't clean out my brush, so it's sort of a reddy brown now. And there wasn't very much brown ink coming through. So, it's quite a light coloured brown that I end up using. And then I'll go and grab some early espresso, again, just to try and add in some darkness to a few areas. But this brown obviously really helps with feeding in with the sort of the vintagey theme. And so yeah, this is the early espresso. And then I decided to die cut him. So a bit of a clean up job first. This stamp set comes with coordinating dies. I think there is even a coordinating die for the bell if I'd have wanted to do that, but I didn't. I used it as a background element instead. But I am sticking my little washi tape down to make sure that that die cuts where I want it to cut. And it cuts a really nice close image. You know how some dies leave quite a big outline? This one doesn't. But I did want to just add a bit more brown. So I've grabbed my Distress Oxide blending tools there. I've made sure it's got a brown foam pad because I don't really wash them out. The tub that's on the desk at the moment has got some clean ones in it. But yeah, I have a whole load of them at the bottom of the tub, just like rooting around, trying to find the right one. I went all the way around with the vintage photo, both the image and then this background panel. I did the same, hoping to sort of oxidise it and give it a bit of a different texture, but it didn't really work. At first I thought I'd just do a little bit of a ripped panel, but then I decided to go whole hog and just tear myself a panel to go behind. So that's what I'm saying. Most of what I did didn't end up being visible. So I've decided that clearly this is going to go on a craft card, but this is not enough. It does not look right. It just looks like a scrap and a Santa on top. So I am going off and I'm trying to find some creamish coloured cardstock. I end up with this one, which is sort of a sand colour. It's from the Kingston Crafts pastel cardstock. So I cut myself a panel that I think is going to be about the right size, even when I've torn a little bit off. And I am going in and adding it to the embossing folder. What's the embossing folder called? It's Time Worn Type, I think is what it's called. Again, it's an old Stampin' Up one. And then I'm going to go over it with my blending tool. Don't add any extra ink to it, just to enhance the texture and just, again, make it a little bit more vintagey looking. So the embossing folder itself is quite vintagey looking. And then I wanted to get rid of the white core and turn that browner. And then I'm just layering them up. So, dead simple. I'm going to stick my Santa down with glue because it's going on top of that embossing, both the dry embossing and the heat embossed plasticky finish. I've decided I'm using a sentiment I've already got, and it says Jingle Bells because I figured that that worked with the theme. And then I'm adding just some looped up twine. This is the brown wax thread. Yeah, it's the light brown wax thread that I've used. Sorry, I'm recording this voiceover a couple of days after I actually made the card. So I'm trying to remember what I actually did. But yeah, that's then the front of my card. Obviously, it's coloured cardstock for the card blank, although this is a pre-made card. I am going to do something to the inside, so I'm using a piece of cream coloured cardstock, and I just quickly and simply stamped that image on the edge, just so it follows through to the inside of the card. And that's it, I'm done. Dead simple. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please do subscribe if you want to see future videos. Obviously, I hope if you did enjoy it, you will put the thumbs up and maybe leave me a comment below. Do you enjoy vintage at Christmas or vintage at any time of year? It's just not my go-to for most things. I do it occasionally, but it's not my go-to. Please, thank you so much for watching. That's what I'm meant to be saying. And until next time, bye-bye.